World War II began in September of 1939. 58,000 Canadians signed up right away. By 1940, Canadians were on their way to Europe to help out with the action against the enemy. On August 19, 1942, nearly 5,000 Canadian soldiers participated in a battle called the Dieppe Raid. It was a terrible disaster. Nearly 1,000 Canadians were killed, and 2,000 became prisoners of war. Many soldiers from Orillia participated in the raid. Several of them signed up with the Royal Regiment of Canada. The Royals landed on a small beach at Dieppe, codenamed Blue Beach. It was the worst beach of them all. There were huge cliffs that the soldiers were unable to climb, and large rocks on the beach that were difficult to run on. The enemy was shooting at the Royals all along the beach, and the rocks exploded and became a type of weapon called shrapnel. Many soldiers from Orillia were taken prisoner and spent nearly 3 years in captivity in Germany, with little food or water and with terrible conditions. Some of these soldiers were John Poulton, Cornwallis Hope Smith, Edwin Smith, and William Hunt, who landed on a different beach and in a tank. Harmon Huffman from Orillia was killed that day. It was his 22nd birthday. Harmon is buried in France, but his parents put his name on their headstone in the Orillia Cemetery.
A sailor said to me, "You know where we're headed?" He said, "We're headed to Dieppe." It was pitch black, and we walked through the ship in silence, in the dark, holding onto the bayonet scabbard of the man ahead to the landing craft. The Germans fired flares, but it lit up the channel, you know, and you could see the escort vessels and all these little landing craft. These mortars were coming all up the beach, and the stones were multiplying the shrapnel. It's just showers of this stuff. The last one that landed, I tilted my helmet and turned my eyes away because I was worried about my eyes. And this sniper hit the brim of my helmet and knocked my helmet off. This signalman was signaling the destroyer. Fire a couple of shells in, hit the wall, knock a hole in the wall, do anything. Fire shells in. Never mind the men. If you kill us guys, that's fine. Nothing. I weighed 80 pounds when the American 9th Army liberated me on the 12th of April, 1945. I ran out, and here's the Jeep with these three American troops, driver, radio operator. And I spoke to the officer, I saluted. Other men were coming out, and the hood, men's tears were leaving little trails on the hood of the Jeep. I arrived in England on the 27th of April, and they hospitalized us. I called it Paradise, the one Canadian General Hospital. And after we'd been through anything, a crust of bread on the street was worthwhile, was worthy. It was all the joyfulness of the war ending. I was in London the night before VE Day with my brother Alan. I couldn't rejoice. I couldn't rejoice. I wanted to see these people rejoicing.
A message from the Government of Canada.
On June 6, 1944, 156,000 soldiers participated in the largest invasion ever assembled. It was called D-Day, with England, the United States, and Canada participating in this huge battle in Normandy, France. There were several sandy beaches involved over a 50-mile stretch. Not like at Dieppe, where the beaches were rocky. The Canadians landed on Juno Beach. D-Day was a combined operation with the Army, Navy, and Air Force all participating. Tragically, 4,400 soldiers were killed on D-Day, but this battle was the turning point in the Allies winning the war.
They were just kids from New Brunswick. Never even left the North Shore before. Dad trained them the best he could. But how could they possibly be prepared? This was the biggest operation the world had ever seen. He'd already served in the First World War, earned the right to stay home, raise his children. But how could he send those boys into battle and not be by their side? Many were killed that day. One was my father.
Major Archie McNaughton was 47 when he died on D-Day, the invasion that marked the beginning of the end of the Second World War.
The Netherlands, or Holland, was under German occupation and had their rights taken away. The Germans stopped deliveries of food into Holland, and there was no other way for Dutch people, especially in cities, to get anything to eat. From November 1944 to April of 1945, the Dutch people were starving, and 20,000 Dutch people died from starvation. This was known as Hunger Winter. People were so hungry that they ate tulip bulbs, as Holland grows tulips in abundance. Canadian planes flew at low altitudes and as slow as possible over Holland and dropped food to the people, which saved many lives. As fighting continued across Europe, Canadian troops eventually made their way to Holland, where they liberated or freed the people from occupation. Over 9 months of fighting in Holland, 7,600 Canadian soldiers died, including Kenneth Wilbard Young, the last Orillia boy to be killed in action in World War II.
We fought our way through Italy and then headed for Amsterdam, sweeping for Germans along the way. Our worst fear was to catch a bullet in these last hours of the war.
I was 15 when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands. More than 100,000 Dutch Jews never came home. Our men were put into forced labor. By 1945, we were starving. The food drops gave us hope. And then, the Canadians came.
Before Amsterdam, I couldn't have explained why we were there, all those years away from home, but the Dutch showed us why it mattered.
Papa wanted me to bring some soldiers home to thank them personally. And that's when I first saw Wilf. And I invited him over that afternoon.
Marguerite Blaise married Lieutenant Wilf Gildersleeve. They moved to Vancouver, where they raised 8 children. Today, the Dutch still remember the Canadians who liberated them.
The Dutch people have never forgotten what Canada did for them. They send tulips to Ottawa each year, as the tulip represents gratitude and the long-standing friendship between Canada and the Netherlands. Even after 75 years, the Dutch people, especially the children, take care of the graves of our Canadian soldiers, even placing candles at Christmas time.